8th and final race, the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup at Sigulda in Latvia, the only track in the World Cup campaign that has got an elevated start, building 5 stories up in the air at the start of this Latvian track. Hello everybody, welcome back to the final run of the European Championships, race 8 for the two-man bobsleigh World Cup. The Crystal Globe decided, but the battle for honours here continues. Martin Haven and Ben Coquel watch the first run, and Ben, we've got very different names in the frame today. Christoph Hafer of Germany was bronze medalist in last year's two-man race, and he's in 3rd place after the first heat of this year's second two-man race.
Yeah, just took him a couple extra runs to get into the same shape as he was in last year.
Well, last year he didn't have a great first race, he had a great second race. Seaman Friedli crashed out of 3rd place in the second heat in yesterday's race. He's gone one better today. He's now in 2nd position. And that's not bad for a man in only his 3rd World Cup race.
No, and if you look at the timesheet, I mean, his start deficit is outdriven by his skill down the track, and it's that sled is flying right now.
Yeah. Our first heat leader is Oscar Kibermanis, yesterday's winner. He outstarted Friedli by 1/10 of a second, was only 13 hundredths in front at the end of the run. So Friedli actually drove better in a sled that started slower to lose just 300ths of a second in 1,200 meters. If he doesn't crash out, Kibermanis had better have good rear view mirrors, because Friedli is coming. Hafer's only 1,700ths behind. And Benny Meyer, he had a medal here last year as well. He could be on the podium. He's in 4th place, very close in contention. Yesterday's bronze medalist Justin Cripps in 5th, which is where he started the second run yesterday with Ben behind him. That could be a medal-winning run as well. So we've got a lot to think about. The overall Crystal Globe has been decided in favour of Francesco Friedrich, yesterday's silver medalist, who ended up going home for training in Altenburg. But all the other positions in the top 10 are up for grabs, and particularly because Dominic Dvorak pulled out before the race. He was in 8th in the points, and he will drop now no lower than 10th. And you pointed out that's really important, because the draw in the World Championships is based on your World Cup positions.
Yeah, you finish first overall in the World Cup point system, and you get first choice.
Yep.
And that's usually choosing to go off first.
Yep.
And it just follows in line all the way down to however many sleds are going to be in the race.
Yep.
And even 1 or 2 spots can make a big difference, because as you know, ice deteriorates as heavy sleds and steel goes down.
Yep.
And so you want to improve on that. And there's some prize money on the line, and there's a lot of funding implications for a lot of these nations. Yep. So it's a big deal.
It really is. Well, Mattia Variola will go off first in our second heat. Change of brakeman for him. Alessandro Fierro comes in. Change of brakeman for Brad Hall as well. Luke Dawes will be in behind him in place of Greg Kakic. Talked about Greg's back injury, and it looks as though that may have recurred.
And you'll see that sometimes when these back-to-back two-man race days, if someone didn't switch brakeman right away, it's hard on the body.
Yeah.
This is no joke. This is a raw power sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a short, explosive start. We get our race underway with Mattia Variola and Alessandro Fierro of Italy. Variola crashed in the first heat, which is why his brakeman has been swapped out. He was battered and bruised. Variola, as the driver, goes again. So first start 5:17, second start 5:19. Clearly not much to choose between the two guys.
Yeah, and having a crash like that in the first heat definitely, takes a little steam out of the engine. But, it's not too bad of a push for all things considered.
Yeah, so fresh brakeman who probably wasn't ready to race today and has had to limber up in 45 minutes or so. And Mattia probably a little sore after his crash. You see the sled cowl has been knocked a little askew. It's gaffer taped on. If there was no gaffer tape, there would be no racing. 122.2 kilometers an hour, top speed down the bottom in the first heat, 126, but that's not a bad run. No real dramas there for Mattia Variola. 50.91, gets it down without that roll into corner 13 from the first heat. Well, he's still holding his head in his hands, but at least he got into the finish area on the runners. So that was definitely a better run.
Yeah, and with this next sled, maybe we'll be able to see how the ice is holding up. just because these guys, obviously, they crashed in the first heat, so it's tough to gauge, but...
Yeah, his first run was definitely an awful lot slower. You see big take on there into corner 13. So Mattia Variola safely down, completes his 3rd World Cup race. Well, next up is Suk Yoon-jin of Korea. And Suk kind of up and down all season long. Best results have been a pair of 11th places in the first and the most recent race of the season. But other than that, he's been sort of struggling in the mid-teens to 20. And 19th place here, a second off the lead. Well, their first start was a 5.08. Now, we saw this in the race earlier on in the second heat of the women's skeleton. Some of the athletes were finding 500s as much as a 1/10 of a second in the start. So as the afternoon progresses, is that start area getting a little quicker?
And you love to see that because that's competitors competing right there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot on the line for every sled, 1 through 20 here today, or 19, I suppose. So it's great to see.
100.8 kilometers an hour. We'll see 101.5, or we did in the first heat, as our top speed. So that's pretty decent speed from Suk Yoon-jin. 113.1. We'll see 115.5 or so, maybe a little more than that in this second heat. And again, 123 quicker than Variola, but not much quicker than Variola. 50.16. Well, that's 4/10 quicker than his first heat, but he was very uninspired by his first run. Not sure he's going to love that one an awful lot more. No. Yeah, you don't need to be an expert in body language, do you?
No, I mean, athletes, you know, they wear it on their sleeve sometimes, you can tell.
Yeah.
Definitely impressed with the drop in push time, though.
Yeah, finding an extra 500s it doesn't sound like an awful lot. And, you know, if you try to measure it on a stopwatch, it's not a lot of time. But to try and find that extra speed when you've given everything in the first heat anyway is always... And part of that is routine. It's the synchronization of the hit between the driver and the brakeman to get the sled moving. Next up, Markus Treichel and Markus Glück of Austria. Yesterday, they finished 13th, ahead of teammate Benny Meyer, who was 14th. Today, their first run, they were 16th, and Benny was 4th. So a little better day in the first heat for Benny Meyer, a little worse for Markus Treichel. See all the names down the side of the sled of those friends and family who have put money into this program. Let's see what they can start. 5.17 in the first heat. Treichel gets hooked up, only just gets in. 5.10 though is the getaway. How much further did they run it past the start camera? And their momentum out the first corner, 54.9. Fastest, highest speed so far, fastest start so far.
And it looks like they're bleeding a little bit here because their start speed was a little slower.
100.9 kilometers an hour, just a little quicker than Suk Yoon-jin of Korea. So now we should start to see the gap open up. He was down to 100th at the last clock. Here we go, a little quicker than the Koreans still. And this is only his second time on this track, but across the line, 50.13, another 300s in the bank over the Korean sled. So he had 1600s from the first heat, and that goes out to 1900s over 2 runs. Well, that's not be enough to move him a long way up the order.
Yeah, it's a great second heat, and it's a good way to end heading into Worlds for him. I know it's been a frustrating season with the foot injury, but anything can happen at the World Championships.
He got hooked up there, didn't he? Trying to get his feet past the bungees that hold the D-rings.
Yeah, and you said earlier that they could be good dancers.
Yeah.
Maybe it was me that said it, but you got to get your feet around those D-rings.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing, and it's something that the people watching at home won't see.
And you jump in, you can't see into the sled at that stage, so you just have to do it through routine, and Marcus just got a little hooked up. Next up is Max Illmann, crashed in the first heat of yesterday's 2-man race. He was the first man out of the start shed, and that always just kind of adds a little frisson to everybody else, because you hear the noise, then there's the silence of the track hold. Everybody goes, okay, We're not in Kansas anymore. Well, he got down safely in the first heat with replacement brakeman Eric Strauss. Let's see if he can move up a little from 15th place. 498, so sub 5, and again that's 700s quicker, so the brakeman and the driver will be very happy to produce that extra speed.
Yep, great start speed. It looks like the ice, the track crew here has this ice just flying for the second heat.
Yeah, it's like well-polished glass at the moment. Illman 2900s up, 100.4 kilometers an hour, not as quick as Marcus Treichel, and a late flop there rattles the sled around. Oh, and he's in real trouble. How's he got it back?
That was wild.
Wow, I was sure we were going to see him in that next shot upside down. That's exactly where the Italians crashed earlier. And that's where he parked it yesterday as well. Yeah, you see, Marcus Treichel. And the German coaches were the same. I mean, Max Illman had a kind of slightly goofy grin on his face yesterday after the crash. They were sort of laughing it off. His brakeman less so, because he did get quite bad ice burns on his shoulders. But Max got away with that one. Look how late this gets. Boy. And there you go. That's how the roll happens. It's still on 2 runners, and then the corner comes up at you, and it basically pulls the rug out from under you.
Yeah, if you send your nose into that corner, it's just gravity, and it's going to roll you over.
Yeah.
You know, you need a little bit of luck sometimes, and it looks like he got a little bit of that.
He didn't have it yesterday, but he rolled double 6 today, didn't he? That got out of jail free. That is the goofy grin from Max Illman.
Yeah, and you see Treichel breathe. You know, we don't want to see guys crash. You know, I never want to see.
No, that's tough times in the leaders box when you guys were in there yesterday, and the next 2 sleds both stacked it. Yeah. Okay, so Ivo de Bruin and Dennis Venker for the Netherlands, 14th place after the first of our 2 heats, and their advantage over Marcus Treichel, 2300s. Now, how close to a 5-second start can these guys get? 5:05, a little quicker than their first run. Second fastest exit velocity as well into turn 2 and 3, and then down into turn 4, little parallel tap. Ready, 6 to 7, 7 and 8 and 9. These corners just keep coming. It's like grabbing gear shifts in a race car.
One corner ends, and the other one's already started.
Yeah. 101 kilometers an hour, best speed we've seen. Oh, and he's late there, hanging it out for speed. 2800s up, 113.2. He lost a bit of speed to Treichel, but that's a great high line and a good exit. Nice looking run from Ivo de Bruin. On driver's left coming into the Kreisel will cost him time. It's a 50.17 run. So that is a couple of hundreds slower than his first heat.
Pretty good run for him for the most part.
Couple of errors low down. The worst part, though, which cost him more time, I think, than anything else, was coming in low and hard onto corner 16, the Kreisel. You want to be high on the right-hand side, otherwise you're going very steep uphill.
Yeah, you don't want to see an aggressive wave there. You want to smooth that out.
And here, that 13-14 crossover. Nice smooth exit from 14. Look at the runner tips. Barely any movement at all.
Drove around that debris at the track.
Yeah, well, luck or judgment. But yeah, look at the big height there. Spiked straight up early on in 13. Did get away with that, though.
Thank you, Lacis!
I think they're all getting the idea of how to play to the crowd here, aren't they?
Oh, Ivo's always such a character, too. You know, he's full of spunk, isn't he?
Our race leader after the first 5 sleds is Ivo de Bruin. 13th place after first of our 2 heats is Michael Vogt, with Sandro Michel behind him today in this Swiss sled. The advantage over de Bruin, just 0.06 of a second.
Now, Vogt is currently sitting 4th overall in the world.
Yep.
And he's pretty comfortable up there, but I'm sure he'd like to see himself move up a few spots here in the Worlds. Definitely.
So 4th in the 2-man World Cup rankings at the moment. He's not going to catch 3rd unless there is some unbelievable state of events. I don't think it's even mathematically possible. But he wants to stay ahead of Roman Heinrich of France. Dominic Dvorak's not here, so he's no longer a factor. But it's going to be the end of a great season for this man in only his second World Cup season, only his third season of driving anything.
Yeah, a bit of a late exit.
And like all the Swiss athletes, he is has a full-time job as well. He's a chef. And across the line he comes, a 10th up, 50.13. So again, just a fraction slower than his first run. The start area might be a little easier to get the sled moving, but I'm not sure that the track is holding quite as much speed.
Yeah, and if it's a little warmer out there, then the start will be fast.
Yeah.
But of course, the ice breaks down a little bit more because it's softer.
And of course, we'll be finished today by the time we started yesterday's two-man race, so the weather will be very different. You can see the marks that the runners leave in the ice, even though they've got that rounded profile, all that weight of the sled grinds them in.
And that's the challenge with that straightaway, is you're steering out of that corner so aggressively, but then you got to get those runners parallel again, so you can fly straight down the middle of that straightaway.
And you got to time the exit right here from 15 to 16. That was a pretty good run from Michael Vogt as he takes the lead. The top 12 still remain here in Sigulda in Latvia. Well, there you can see the Russian skeleton team on the wall and the bobsleigh team as well, watching the action. And in Friday night's race, Nadezhda Sergeyeva of Russia claimed gold in the European Championships and took her first ever outright World Cup win in women's bobsleigh. She's in the crowd watching trackside, Lubov Chernik and her other teammates yelling Rostislav Gajdukovic off at the top to a 4:88 getaway again, another couple of hundreds found. They have the best velocity out of the first corner at 55.9 kilometers an hour.
He can rip it out of the hole. That's impressive.
Yes, he can't he? And he can drive it up a storm as well. He was very good here early on, and then it kind of drifted away further down the track. 100.8, not quite the speed of Ivo de Bruin. And again, have they gone with a narrow runner choice that's not working on this slightly warmer ice? 1:13.6, and then a big hit as he comes onto the straightaway into 16. 3,300s up, he'll be the leader at the line. And he didn't lose much, only 3,100s at the line. He only lost 200s of his advantage over Michael Vogt.
And I think he might be the first sled to have gone faster in his second heat so far today.
Who had a decent first heat, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a good run from Rostislav Gajdukovic. Silver medalist in the Junior Worlds last week in two-man, gold medalist in four-man. He's got a big career in front of him. A late flop here, clatters the wall, but he gets a square send-off, and that sets him up for the next corner. And here, much less steering onto the straight. He knows he's good, just takes the tap. Here we go.
Yep, take the tap, let her fly.
Yep. But he does get in a little late. Again there, that late flop. So 2 or 3 errors down at the fastest part of the track. Didn't cost him the lead. Gajdukovic leads with 11 to go. We saw Greg Kackett just behind the start line in his jacket, because Luke Dawes is now the man behind Brad Hall. Sean Olsen there in the cap at the back. 98 Olympic bronze medalist in Nagano, Japan in four-man bobsleigh.
This is a massive heat for Brad, because he could move up almost 4 spots in the overall standings if he can get this done.
Yeah, if he can really nail this. 5:03 getaway, 4:97 in the first heat, but he needs a really good drive. Yesterday he drove into 5th position. He was only 11th after the first heat. So 4th fastest start, but only 7th velocity at 100 meters. Just didn't look as though the sled was quite as quick in his hands today as it was yesterday. He's behind Gajdukovic, and the gap is out to 0.4 of a second. He's holding on, 1:14.1, quicker than the Russian. There's not much ice left. That's a good exit, though. That was better than Gajdukovic. A good line onto the Chrysler as well. How close will he be at the line? Hits the wall. It's still a 1/4 second back. So Gajdukovic stays in the leader's box with Mikhail Morozov, and Brad Hall will still be in the top 10 in the World Cup standings, but he's not going to repeat yesterday's 5th position unless everybody starts falling over.
Yeah, he's going to need some help from the sled gods, but I got to say, he'll be happy to stay in that position in the overall standings.
It has been a big season for Brad Hall and the crew, entirely self-funded, no funding whatsoever for British Bobsleigh, or from British Bobsleigh. They have to find their own travel, accommodation, pay for the equipment. Brad has to pay their salaries.
Yeah, and maybe a music career would help.
Yeah, music career would definitely help. I think they might be a little bit away from that. 10 to go. Rostislav Gajtukovic is our race leader here in Sigulda. Well, Brad Hall's battle to try and catch Alexei Stulnev and Yun Jong-won, the 2 drivers ahead of him. As you say, he might need some help from the sled gods. We've got 10 sleds to go. Next up is Alexei Stulnev. Yun Jong-won was 8th after the first heat, so they're looking at trying to catch and overhaul Dominic Dvorak. Brad will move up anyway because Dvorak isn't going to score today, so he will drop to 10th spot, where Brad currently is in the overall rankings. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with the others. It's like a race. It's like a bobsled race. You know, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 so close together in terms of points at the end of the season that it's actually just like a 5 to 10 position in any bobsleigh race we've seen all year, where the positions are swapping with every different sled that comes down.
Well, it's a race inside of a race, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, you would say that this one is equally as important because World Championships is for all the marbles. So I'm keeping a close eye, doing a little bit of math here, trying to figure out what's going on. But I can tell you Hall definitely moved up one position in the overall there.
Yes, so that definitely helps. And that man on the left-hand side there, Rostislav Gajtukovic, is having no problems at all with this track. Yesterday, he finished in 4th position. He's not going to do the same today unless there is an utter calamity. Great view down there on the illuminated and covered track here at Sigulda. Imagine when it opened in 1986, it looked very different. No roof, no lights. Probably only raced very early in the morning as well, when the roof and the shades weren't protecting it so much from the weather and the elements. So 10 sleds to go to fill out our regular season. 8th and final race, the 2-man bobsleigh World Cup. There are your leaders. On the left Rostislav Gajtukovic. On the right, Mikhail Mordasov, Martin Haven and Ben Coquel from Canada in the booth, watching Alexei Stulnev and his seriously minded brakeman getting underway. Ilya Malik in the back of the sled folds himself in. They get a 5-0 start, while Stulnev is looking less and less happy with his weekend with every run.
And this is a big run for him because he has only 14 points up in Brad, so he needs to finish ahead of him to maintain that spot.
Well, right now he's in 2nd place off a 2nd fastest start. Brad Hall 2500s back at the line. And it looks like Stulnev is bringing it back towards Gajtukovic, his younger teammate. 101.1 kilometers an hour, quicker than Gajtukovic's sled. 114, he's getting closer, 1100s back. He's still ahead of Brad Hall. But that was a late flop off 15. What's he got at the line? Across the line, he stays in 2nd place, so he is ahead of Brad Hall. He doesn't stay in the top 10. Gajtukovic moves up.
It was a pretty clean run for Stulnev. He had that late exit off of 13, but other than that, it was pretty good, and he had good speeds the whole way throughout the run.
Again, as so often this season, what looked like a good run just didn't quite have the speed that you thought it ought to. I have wondered a few times this year whether the Russians have either been too conservative or not conservative enough with their runner choices. Watch the way he bobs up and down in the straight. Saw this all the time in St. Moritz, just ducking his head 2 or 3 times in the straight. It's like he's now got a case of the yips. It's a sort of nervous twitch.
Maybe he's trying to be aerodynamic. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the reason, but he does it 2 or 3 times. It's the oddest thing to watch. Well, next up, 9th place in the first heat for Romania's Mihai Tentea and Ciprian Darocci, his brakeman. And it bears saying again that Friday night was a big night for Romanian bobsleigh. Andrea Grecu taking a silver medal, her first ever World Cup medal. And she was just 200ths off the gold, won by Russia's Nadezhda Sergeva. A huge, huge day for Romanian bobsledding. Now let's see what this young man can do. Just 21 years old, he and his brakeman. Yep. 498, that's a decent start, isn't it?
Faster than his first heat, that's what you want to see.
Yeah. And 3rd fastest velocity of the 2nd fastest start we've seen, so they lost a little bit in the run down to the first couple of corners. And this might be another scalp for Rostislav Gajdukovic. He started a 10th quicker, and he was only 800ths back after the first heat. Well, one thing Mihai Tentea does have is good driving skills. He's only 1200ths back off a 10th slower start. He could rescue it all here with a good Kreisel. No, the speed's not there. Only 8th fastest. He'll be 3rd at the line. 400ths ahead of Brad Hall, who does not move up. Mihai Tentea will be no worse than 11th place. So where did he finish yesterday? In 10th spot. That is still possible. Rostislav Gajdukovic remains in the lead, but Mihai Tentea, that was a pretty neat looking drive. Just gets the little square tap.
Just didn't have the speed at the bottom of the track. You sometimes wonder if maybe it was a runner change between the 2 days and just didn't go his way.
Yeah. And the weather, you know, we started earlier, the weather is definitely different. The track conditions are different than they were yesterday. So even if you'd started with the same runners as yesterday, the performance is not necessarily the same. Well, it hasn't been the same for Yun Jong-won either. Crashed out of the top 3 yesterday. And now in 8th place after the first heat. Don't feel that he's going to walk away from the track here in Sigulda with a medal.
Yeah, and he's only 200ths behind the guy in front of him, so he could lay down a smoker here and do a bit of a jump.
Yeah. Now the other way of looking at it is he was only 1100ths quicker than Gajdukovic. Starts 5:05. Gajdukovic started 4:88.
So that steals all the advantage.
That's 1700s slower. And that means it's not just you lose that time at the start, but it follows you down because you've got to build up acceleration to try and reach the speed that Gajdukovic had early on.
Yeah, and it puts more pressure to be perfect on the track, although he has good speed there.
101.1, that's as quick as anybody we've seen. And this is a development BTC sled, but he's again being dragged into the same wall that Justin was yesterday and today. 4th fastest at the bottom, 900ths back. Is he going to get him at the line? No, the hit on the wall was enough. 50.04 run. Rostislav Gajdukovic continues to move up the order, and he is tied with Alexei Stulnev in 2nd place.
Wow.
Not what Yun Jong-won was hoping for from today after yesterday's fine first run.
It looked like he needed just a little more track to make up that time, but...
Well, the hit wasn't really hugely in sync there.
No.
And that's often a problem when the driver comes from the block.
Yeah, it's those small things that add up.
And again, that 13-14 transition is just looking to catch somebody and roll them over. Comes off 14 and again drives it into the wall. And the back is lighter, gets pinged away from the wall further than the front, which means you're in a skid again.
All right.
Okay, 7 to go. Roman Heinrich is right behind Mikkel Vokes. They are 4th and 5th in the World Cup standings, but he's nearly 100 points adrift, so he's not going to catch him unless there's some huge drama. But top 5 in the World Cup standings would be a huge result for the French team. 4:99, same as their first start. Well, yesterday, Heinrich finished in a disappointing for him 15th position. That's his only run outside the top 12 all year. This is much more where we expect to see him, fighting for top 6 positions. 600s behind Gajtukovic.
He's going to have to be pretty tidy down low here if he's going to want to catch Gajtukovic.
Oh, again, a little late there. 300s in it, 1:14.1. That's very good speed.
Very good speed.
And he's just about on the right line coming into the Kreisel. 6th fastest though at the line. He is in front. Finally, he eases the Russians out of the leader's box. He will be no worse than 7th place. Max Robert looking a lot happier with that. And so too are Roman Heinrich and his brakeman Dorian Otteville.
And he's happy because that seals up 5th place for him overall.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And that keeps Dvorak and 1 off his tail. Stulnev won't catch him. 5th in the overall rankings. Bearing in mind, you've got 3 competitive German sleds, you've got 3 Russian sleds, you've got the USA, you've got Canada. You know, France is punching above its weight with this young man.
And I believe if you take Cripps out of there, because he's North American, that puts him in a top 6 in the European Championships.
That's absolutely right. So he will be in the no worse than 7th and may yet move up, because again we're in that territory where you blink in the wrong place and you lose a spot. So he was only 200s out of the top 6 in the first heat. In 6th position was Oskars Melbardis, back in World Cup racing for the first time since January 2018 in Koenigsegg, the last pre-Olympic race. He's raced in Europa Cup for the last 2 seasons. Yesterday, Ivo Ferriani, the president of the IBSF and the IOC board member, presented him with his gold medal for the 4-man in Sochi 2014, as well as bronze in that Sochi Games. So he's now got 2 bronzes in 2-man and a gold in 4-man. He is Latvia's first ever Olympic gold medalist, and he's 100th in the lead over Roman Heinrich. This is going to be very tight.
Yeah, and he's pretty quick to that 100-kilometer clock.
Yeah, 101.5 speed. That's the fastest sled so far. Now as he goes, oh, he was very late. He hauls it off though, straight down the track. 1:14.1, not the quickest sled. 1 was faster in the development PTC. 2nd fastest at the bottom though. He's going to take Heinrich's lead away. He does by 700s. 49.87 guarantees himself a top 6 finish. A very emotional Sandis Prusis on the right-hand side there. Yesterday, seeing his boys finally get their medals, and a very happy Sandis Prusis today, seeing his man in the top 6.
Yeah, and he was 100th faster than his first run, so, I mean, he stepped up.
Yep.
In front of this home crowd.
Intars Dampis burying himself in the sled again. It wasn't the best hit, but they still started 5 flat, and there he got away with that, didn't he?
And boy, if those 2.
You see, when you know the track intimately, you know already as you go on to 13, you're late, you know what to do in 13 to get it onto 14 without being bounced on your head. I'm sure he's been bounced on his head enough that he doesn't want to do it again.
Well, and I'm sure nobody knows the track like he does. Yeah. If it can happen to him, it can happen to any of these drivers at any moment.
Yeah, it's too true. Oskars Melbardis leads Roman Heinrich and Rostislav Gajtukovic to the echoes of the Latvian fans. 5 sleds to go. The final 2-man bobsleigh race of the season. Justin Cripps of Canada with Sam Giguère in the position that Ben Coquel, my co-commentator, found himself in yesterday, going into the 2nd heat in 5th. So a 4:94 start. And Justin, you were saying not in the regular 2-man sled that he's been driving all season. That's black with the maple leaf, but he's in a borrowed BTC, which will be the same, but not exactly, perhaps.
Yeah, and you know, we have a good relationship with the builder of BTCs, and they're awesome sleds. And I know Cripps was driving a BTC when he won his Olympic medal, so it's, you know, we're trying out a new sled to see how it goes, and it looks like it's going pretty well for us.
That's a great exit for Justin Cripps as well. 1300s on Oskars Melbardis. The equipment is the same, the track is the same. This is mano a mano. Justin Cripps across the line with the lead, 49.81. Well, nice to see Mel Bardis back. And Justin Cripps in the leader's box. Now, this is exactly where you were yesterday, Ben, right where Sam Giguère is sitting. You came across the line, position 1, 4 to go, and then everybody started falling over their own shoelaces.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a race and it's a competition. You got to make it down twice. And that sport, although I would like to say you never want to see somebody crash. That's not how you want to win a medal. But I would love to see Sam win a medal. I mean, he hasn't raced in so long, and he's such a good teammate. It'd be great. And
well, there's a great-looking load, and that's a really good exit off corner 14. It didn't get the tap, didn't get dragged along the wall, which has happened in the 3 runs before this so far. So Cripps really laying one down, and to take the lead from Oskars Melbardis in Latvia, you know you've had a good run. Okay, 4 to go now for the medals. Justin Cripps leads, 400s faster than him was Benny Meyer, and 400s away from Meyer was 3rd. This is where it gets real.
Well, and I think people have been sleeping on Benny Meyer a little bit this season because he did have a baby, and he's been away from it, but he's a talented driver.
He's the only one who hasn't been sleeping. He and wife Elizabeth have been getting very little sleep thanks to Hendricks. Little tap 3 to 4. So can he get himself into the medals here? 900s behind Justin at the last clock, 1400 speeds, only 100.8. Now, where Benny made his money in the first heat was down below 11. Here we go, what's he got? That's a good transition.
Yeah, he looks like he stopped the bleeding a little bit.
But he's drifting along the wall there. Out of 15. Good line into 16. He needs big speed. What's he got? Not enough at the line. Cripps moves up. This time without a driver dumping himself on his head. However, in terms of the European Championship, of course, Justin Cripps is invisible, so Benny Meyer doesn't come across the line in 2nd. He drops 3 spots to 4th behind Heinrich and Mel Bardis. And that means there is not going to be a podium for him in the European Championships. I know Elizabeth was watching earlier on. I'm sure she will enjoy coming to watch Benny racing in the World Championships in Altenburg as well. That was not the run that Benny Meyer needed, just lost too much speed early on. Never got it back. So offers him congratulations to Sam Giguère and to Justin Cripps. Coach Todd Hayes down there in the winner's box as well.
Yeah, I like having Todd down the bottom. He brings the hype, you know?
Brings the hype. I think we might need to talk about getting Todd in the booth next year sometime. All right, but before then, let's sort out some medals. Christoph Hafer, disappointing first race last year, disappointing first race yesterday. Finished bronze in race 2 last year, bronze in the first heat today, and a 5:08 getaway that exposes him a little to the current leader, Justin Cripps of Canada, who started 4:94.
This is wild. I mean, his start speed wasn't what you want to see, and he takes that double bump right off of corner 3 there, too.
Now, again, Hafer did have speed at the bottom of the track, but he started early on. He was 3rd out of the start shed. What have we got now? He's in 3rd place on the splits. He's behind Cripps and Mel Bardis. And he has not got the speed, 1:14.4. It's a little quicker than the Canadian sled, but how close does he get? 1:25.2. This could be down to the 100th of a second. No, 1100s back. He didn't find anything in the final corner. Oh, and a dab. Matthias Herfler, I'm seeing a whole new side to him. Funny masks yesterday of Rennie Spies and Lea Leopold, and today they're dabbing. I'm sure there's an age limit on dabbing, isn't there?
I didn't know that was still a thing.
You know, when you're the age that me and Matthias are, it's still a thing.
You got to hold on to that stuff.
Yeah, you got to hold on. Maybe not. Well, Christoph Hafer couldn't hold on. He slips into second. He's 500s ahead of Oskars Melbardis. So that's your podium right now. Cripps, Hafer, Melbardis. But there are still 2 to go.
But Hafer has sealed up a podium finish in the European Championships.
Yes, he has indeed, because he is the top European with 2 to go. However, hold on to your seats, everybody. Seaman Friedli and Gregory Jones were in 3rd place after a huge first heat in yesterday's race, and Friedli knew he had it in the bag. The sled had other ideas, though, rolled them into corner 12. Let's see what he can produce here.
And what a setup this is. I mean, he's in a similar position to yesterday. It's European Championships.
Yep. He's going for gold. He's 1300s off the win. You know he's going for gold. 493. I think we can see Seaman Friedli become the new Vern Hefty. 2nd fastest exit velocity from the 2nd fastest start. Good run into 4.
Just a small touch into 4, and that's what you want to see.
10th of a second ahead of Justin Cripps from 1300s at the start. Cripps started pretty much the same, 494 to 493, but he's loose and wild. Got to get it back under control. He does in corner 13. And here we go, down the stretch into 14. Little drift out to the wall. Big height early in 15, gets away with it. 125 is the top speed. He matches it. He is going to be the leader with 1 to go. Is this going to be a huge day? It already is for Seaman Friedli. He is not in his 30th World Cup. He is not in his 50th World Cup. He is not like Justin Cripps in his 67th World Cup. He is in his 3rd World Cup.
I mean, I've been impressed all week with this guy, and this is just incredible to be, currently in the silver medal position, and his 3rd race is just wild.
Ridiculous. Made his debut 3 weeks ago in Koenigsegg, finished a strong 8th place. Binned it yesterday in the 2nd heat to finish 20th, but oh boy, came back with spades, didn't he, in the 1st heat to go 2nd, and he leads. And do you know what? Oskars Kibermanis should be feeling pressure after that.
Well, and there's a little bit going on here, because if Kibermanis falls back 1 spot, then Cripps takes sole ownership of 2nd overall.
Yeah.
But if Kibermanis wins the race, then he takes sole ownership of 2nd overall.
So it's 2nd overall in the battle for the Crystal Globe. Yesterday he claimed his 1st ever 2-man win in brand new racing spikes, and today he is looking for a double up, his 2nd ever 2-man World Cup win. So here we go, the advantage, 1300s, and he starts an electrifying 482, just 100th off the start record, 300s off yesterday's start record.
And great start speed.
Yeah, big velocity, 3/10 up. So this is for victory. They were hoping to take the track record, and they got 100th away from it in the 1st heat. Can he do it again? He's looking for a 49.51 at the line. 113.7 is not great speed. We've seen quicker BTC sleds.
Is there enough track left?
He's going to win it, 125.3. He's not going to get the track record, but he gets a double gold medal, 49.65. He doesn't get the gold, he doesn't get the track record, rather, that they were hoping for. They get gold, and they are the European champions. And Marta Smith-Nis, the brakeman, yesterday was saying how important that is to them and to this crowd. It is a big, big deal. Oskars Kibermanis, winless before now in 2-man, 1 win in 4-man over 3 seasons ago, and now suddenly within 24 hours he has won 2 2-man races, and better than that, He's won them in front of a baying crowd on his home track.
Well, I mean, and no sport is safe from the home track advantage, right?
Yeah.
The home court advantage, home field advantage, anything. And he brought it, you know. Like you said, it was his first two-man win yesterday. And back it up by his second to be a double gold medalist to end the season, that's great.
There's going to be no end of high-fiving these guys, is there? Again, the crowd get what they came for. They had 3 Latvian cards to play, and all 3 of them came up gold. Double gold in the two-man races for Oskars Kībermanis. Martins Dukors claimed gold for Latvia in the men's skeleton as well. And what a day for Oskars Kībermanis, what a 24 hours. He's had a bit of sleep and several meals in between, a bit of physio, and gold leads to gold, and that is how you set yourself up to have fun at the World Championships. Oskars Kībermanis Mats Miknis win from Simon Friedli and Gregory Jones, with Justin Cripps and Sam Giguère matching what Justin Cripps and my co-commentator Ben Cokewill did yesterday. Another bronze medal to round out the season. Remind me what you did in the first 2 races of the year. What did Cripps win?
You talking about Lake Placid?
Yeah.
It was a double gold.
Yeah,
and a double
gold,
bronze in
double
two-man.
bronze in the 4-man. It was in the 2-man. It was a big start and a big end to the season. Well, high drama again, this time without the big crashes that we saw in yesterday's race, although again, a couple of guys came perilously close, but got away with it, and another great race. It is a good track for racing, isn't it? I mean, it's hard work for the drivers, it's physical for you guys in the back seat, hanging on and getting your hips pulverized, but it's exciting.
Well, it incorporates all parts of bobsleigh. The push is important. The drive is even more important.
Yeah.
The aerodynamics are important. And of course, the crowd here is unbelievable. I mean, the showing is great. You can hear them when you as a brakeman, I can hear them when I'm going down. So
and you're not even Latvian.
No, I don't know what they're saying, but
well, you know, it's like when you go to Koenigsegg, you know, they're cheering everybody, or Lake Placid, they're cheering everybody, but they're really, really cheering their guys.
Yeah.
You know, and now here comes the snow as well, as we had yesterday, right at the end of the race, just a few little bits of snow falling. Snowy, sleety rain, whatever.
Well, it's like a music festival down there. I mean, I don't think you've seen the stage on camera here yet, but I mean, the sound system's ridiculous, the screens everywhere. People are having a good time.
They are having a good time, and again, hats off to the Latvian Federation and all the organisers and volunteers of this race weekend. You know, they've really put on a big show. They were so excited to get a World Cup last year for the first time in well over a decade, and to come back again this year. You know, they've just upped the stakes. The script writers have been absolutely knocking it out of the park. Whoever came up with all the twists and turns, you know, we've had a pretty up and down season in terms of all sorts of things happening everywhere else, and this is just a real fantastic send-off to go into the World Championships in the next 2 weeks in Altenburg. Final World Cup race of the season is done and dusted. Francesco Friedrich is our Crystal Globe winner, ahead of Oskars Kībermanis, the double gold medalist here, and Justin Cripps with 2 bronze medals seals 3rd, ahead of Mikael Vogt and Roman Heinrich. Yun Jong-won up to 6th, ahead of Alexei Stolnev, Brad Hall, and down to 10th place goes the absent Dominik Dvorak, who did not race here today. So those are the runners and riders in the battle for the Crystal Globe. The European champion, though, our double gold medalist here at Sigulda in Latvia, his home track, Oskars Kībermanis, with Mats Miknis behind him. And for the Latvians, for the team, for the crews, for the federation, it's been a real celebration this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been, you can feel the energy from the time we got here, you know, just they wanted to put on a good show for their home crowd, and the home crowd was out in full force cheering them on. And, you know, it is pretty exciting for Kībermanis, all things being said.
Well, Kībermanis, the winner of the European Championship. Simon Friedli takes European silver. Christoph Hafer of Germany, European gold, because Canada not part of Europe, so Justin Cripps is invisible for that. Ahead of Oskars Melbardis, returning in 4th, Roman Heinrich in 5th, and Benny Meyer in 6th position. So those are our European Championship positions, and our overall podium on the right Justin Cripps and Sam Giguere in the bobble hat on the left-hand side. That is Gregory Jones and the shorter figure of Seaman Friedli. And again, in the middle, as yesterday, our race winners, Martin Miknis and Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia. And that rounds out our World Cup season. 2 weeks of World Championship action in Altenburg await. My thanks to Ben Coakwell for joining me again in the booth. Wishing you and your crew the best of luck for that. Thanks to you for joining us as well for the entire World Cup season. From me, Martin Haven, all my athlete co-commentators and the IBSF TV crew, we hope you will join us and John Morgan on the microphone for the World Championships starting next weekend in Altenburg, Germany. Until then, from fabulous Sigulda, it's goodbye for now.